I'm going to talk today about something which has fascinated me for years. It's really about choosing what you remember. Now, so many of us, well, actually I'm going to share an incident in my life. When I was 11, I got into difficulties in the sea off the west coast of Africa. My dad was with me. He got into difficulties too, and we're both fine, both okay. But I remember that very differently to how my mum remembered it when she was alive. It never put me off swimming. It never made me frightened of the sea. Actually, I thought I got a huge connection from the sea at that point, and have always had that love of the sea. But of course, what happens when something like that occurs is a lot of fear comes up when we're children, we don't feel that fear as much. It's an event, it happened, we let it go. But those around us, our parents, relatives, family, friends, their initial reaction is fear and then relief, and then a lot of times they choose to make that event a learning for creating more security, safety and protection, rather than accepting it as an event, accepting what we've learned from it and letting it go, letting it become maybe a good memory. I mean, I remember it as a good memory. I remember it always. I feel it as a complete connection to the sea. Now, I also can remember the fear. It was my mum's fear. And her anxiety. I mean, but I chose not to live my life around that feeling. I chose to live my life around the feeling of being connected to the sea. Now, when I chose to do that, I don't know, because I was 11, so choosing in that sense, in a intellectual sense, about something like that was not in the forefront of my mind. I think within my feelings felt better about being connected to the sea, and it was an amazing experience because I have gone back and felt into that connection. But that felt better to me than the fear, the worry, the anxiety. Don't go in the sea, it's dangerous. All of that. That didn't feel good to me. And at 11, I wasn't going to go with anything that didn't feel good. Now, I was lucky enough not to have people around me that didn't push those thoughts. My parents were pretty, compared to, they were actually fairly emotionally mature and taught me and my sister to be that to a degree, within the boundaries of how they were brought up, how their lives panned out, which is all parents can do, really. But but what I'm trying to say is that we can actually choose how we remember something. We can choose to take on all the fear, live with that in our bodies, and our bodies will respond to that in not particularly good ways. Hold that fear in, be frightened of things, be fearful of things, protect ourselves when we don't need to be protected. Or we can choose to look at the event in a very different way now, and change the way we actually remember it. And if you're thinking now, well, an event is an event, and you know that's impossible, it happened. Well, actually, if you think about a big pile up on the motorway, for instance, and the police go round and question everybody about what happened, their way of remembering that event will all be very different. People, you know, even if you've got one person who's a criminal and the police ask for people to describe him, they all come up with something different, because what they're intellectualizing is how they remember it from the perspective of their own level of fear and their own level of connection to themselves. It's an interesting topic. It's a very deep topic, but the main thing to remember is that you can change the way you remember something and change the effect it has on you. You have to be patient with that. In every time, see, I have no fear of the water, because every time I went near water, I didn't bring fear up. I brought connection up, connecting to water. I can stand in the shower for ages. I just have a love of water. I never fear water. And I know, I have a respect for the sea, definitely. The sea has many, many emotions attached to it. It can storm, it can have temper tantrums, it can be really calm and peaceful, it can be sulky or sultry. It has life in the way that we have life. And we should respect it in the way that we respect our own lives and respect each other's lives. Everything is life. Timmy, what are you doing? Why do you want to be that side of the fence? Because the grass is longer, Mummy. Timmy, don't do that, please. Not listening to me, are you? Hey. What are you doing? Thank you. I'll try a bit up there, he says. No. Thank you. Video's on, yeah. Looking at my junkyard today. Well, not mine, my husband's. Hey, sweetheart. Talk to me about memories. How do we change memories? How do we seek the truth of the memory? Well, we can go back and relive it and choose to change it, can't we? Is that what we do? Is that what we've done a few times? It is, isn't it? Choose to change the way we remember something. Make it a peaceful memory, a connected memory, a memory that taught us more about how to be aware of ourselves and how to be aware of our connection with everything. There's a very good book called Waking the Tiger by Peter Levine, about trauma, and he explored how can release trauma and change the way we remember it. It's very interesting. It helped me to work with Timmy a little bit and release some of his trauma from when he was a foal. Because I mostly work with, the animals. I'm just sharing my experiences for other people so that you know that anything's possible. I've had a few events in my life where I have changed the memories which did come through as bad, which did affect the way I felt and how I held in certain feelings and how they affected my body. And I've released quite a lot of that. And to be honest, at 58, I feel pretty healthy. It takes patience, it takes time, but mostly it takes acceptance that it is possible, that there is something good to come out of everything. There is a learning that can come out of everything, and it is possible to forgive how you felt at the time, forgive what you brought through from that, forgive yourself. You don't need to forgive anybody else. They have their own issues. The only person you need to worry about is yourself. How you feel about something will ripple out. We're not put on this planet to change each other or force each other to remember things the way that they want to remember them. You should remember things how you want to remember them. How do you feel good about a memory that you perceived to be bad, to be frightening? I had another incident where I was having a nap in a house and the front door was open. This was in South Africa, actually in Bophuthatswana, and a couple of white people living in a black neighbourhood at the time. That was in the 80s. And I was on my own in the house. I was having a nap on bed. The front door was open because it was hot, and I suddenly became aware of another presence in the bedroom. And I just stayed absolutely still, like I was still sleeping, breathing. And eventually that person left with a little bit of cash. And I was pretty shook up for an hour or two, but I let it sort of run through me and let it go. And I don't know. I mean, I had I told my husband when he got back from work, and if his instant reaction was because we were in business accommodation, it wasn't our own house. His first reaction was to go and get us moved, which is interesting because that's a level of fear as well. But the way I choose to remember that event now is that whoever that was that came into the house and took a bit of cash and was wandering around, he was as frightened as I was, because he probably didn't realize I was there until he saw me, which is why it was a very, he left pretty sharpish. And it was a desperate measure. He needed money. I don't think there was any malicious intent involved. That's the way I choose to remember it, apart from need. And in that respect, I have never feared being alone in the house. But I know there are people that have had burglaries and feel invaded and choose, and I'm going to say this, and I know this is it could upset a lot of people, choose to live the rest of their lives with that fear, with that feeling of being invaded, and not wanting that to happen again. Very, it can be, we do have choice, you see. I think a lot of the time we forget that. We live our own lives from one point to another, from birth to death. And we can choose how we live that life. We can choose every moment of how we live that life. How you choose to live your life may have consequences. Well, there are always consequences, aren't there? If you choose to live your life in fear, you will be fearful. That will affect your body. You may get sick, you may have to be dependent, and that creates other fears, you can choose to live your life outside of society rules. There are consequences to that too. Depends on how you break the rules, or how you choose not to live within the rules. Some people can go and live in communes, become perfectly peaceful people, get away from all the fear that's in cities, and change the rules of the way they live within their own boundaries. Others choose to try and live outside of the rules, but in a more violent way, I suppose. But it is a choice. It's always a choice. You can choose to ride, you can choose not to. That's a choice. Your animals also have a choice. My animals chose not to be ridden, and I respect that choice. Many times we don't even ask. It's a lot to think about. But you can actually have a go at this a little bit. Find a memory not something too traumatic to start with. Find a memory that you sort of think, oh, that was shit. I didn't really like that. I don't know, maybe somebody picked your pocket in the town centre one day. And you remember that as, suddenly having your stuff taken away, needing to protect that, never carrying money around with you anymore, being very hiding your money in different parts of your body. You know, these things can expand out and out and out. And they may have started from that one incident. But remember that, and look at how you remember it. Do you remember it as bad, as something that hurt you? Or do you remember it as something that, as you know, as an event that showed you that we are all different, we all have our different ways of being in life, we all make our different choices. That person that picked your pocket made a choice at that point in his time, for a reason. Whatever that reason is, you probably will never know, and you don't need to know. And there's the thing, you don't actually need to know. The only thing you need to be aware of is how you choose to live your life after the event, how you choose to remember the event. You know, I woke up this morning thinking about time, and there's a lot of interesting stuff on the fact that time is a man-made concept. The linear way we live in time, from day to time, hours, minutes, days, years, past, future. But if you start to change your memories, you'll start to understand that there is no past or future, there's only now. Because your memory is who you are now, part of who you are now. It created who you are now, and now is when you can choose to change it. The event is not in stone. It's a memory, a feeling. It's within you. And how do you choose to use that feeling is your choice. A little bit deep today, maybe. A little bit triggering, possibly. But definitely food for thought. How you think about what feeling does come up when you listen to this. Is it a feeling of that's just silly, that's impossible, or is it a feeling of wow, that's potential? Again, you make your choice. We all make our choices. There is no such thing as good or bad, there is just the choice we make. There's no such thing as right or wrong, there's just the choice we make. Enjoy your day. Bye.